is going on, everybody? Welcome to the latest episode of The Legislative Director, talking about legislative things. Here she is. Session is over, and she's still sitting upright. Legislative Director Amber Marr, with her as always, not the Legislative Director, Jason Topsy. Amber, look, there's only one way to start this episode after the end of session. Up top. That's what I'm talking. Ooh, that was a good one. Solid. That was very good. Very good. So congratulations. Session is over. We didn't record an episode at the end of last week because session went to the wee hours of the morning on Friday morning, technically. I guess it was Friday morning.
Yeah, it was Friday.
What time did it end? Tell the people at home.
It was for the House, a little before 2, and for the Senate, a little before 3. That's a.m.
A.m.
Yeah. a.m. on Friday.
That's pretty early or late. Depends on who you're talking to. Either way, that's a long day, long night, early morning, and it's over.
It is over.
Mercifully so.
Sine Die.
Woo! Get rowdy.
I do always forget the actual meaning of Sine Die.
I'm assuming I'm going to go on a limb here and say it's Latin. No?
I don't know. It doesn't tell me. It just says with reference to business or proceedings that have been adjourned.
Okay.
With no appointed date for resuming.
Well, we like that part. So, Amber,
yes.
Session is over.
But I do think there's there's anyway.
We'll Google it. You know what? That's some homework for all of you back at home. Google Sine Die.
Well, I feel like I always get the actual meaning incorrect, and then my friends will correct me.
Okay. Well,
Anyway.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Anywho.
Whatever.
Sine Die. It's over until next session, and we don't need to look that far ahead. Right now, let's talk a little bit about some high-level stuff.
Okay.
Like budget stuff, a couple of the things these last couple of weeks that you were duking it out at the State House with over. We will be getting more in-depth on some of these bills and pieces of legislation that made their way through the process. But for today, and for this show's purposes, we'll just do some high-level hits of what happened these last couple of weeks of session, and then we'll get into more stuff as we move forward in the weeks ahead. Because the show is not going to go away. We're going to kind of keep on plowing through, bringing you up to speed on what happened, as well as what is coming up, because there are going to be some interim study committees and other things that are happening around the State House that we'll want to keep people in the loop on. So, all that said, let's talk a little bit about whatever it is you want to talk about.
I think what I wanted to bring up is because at the very end, we were working on getting funding for 3 things that had not, I take that back. 2 of them had been funded out of the Senate. There was one piece that had not had any funding attached. So I'm just going to talk about what the final version of the budget brought around those 3 top issues.
Sounds good.
Okay. That's House Bill 1001.
Okay. That was the budget.
Yes.
2 years. So for 2024 or whatever it is, or
2023 to 2024.
Yep.
And then 2024 to 2025. Because as you have pointed out, I think to our volunteer legislative team, the budget runs not on a fiscal or calendar year.
Yeah.
It's a fiscal year.
It starts July 1.
Yes.
Okay.
So July to July.
Got it.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay. We're going to first talk about the public health funding. That has the process language in Senate Bill 4, but the funding was in House Bill 1001. And coming out of the conference committee, we have $75 million for the first year and $150 million for the second year. So it was $75 million, $150 million, which actually is how it came out of the House and the Senate, but the Senate had some of those interesting changes that we didn't catch right at first.
I
Remember
recall
that
this. Yes.
emergency preparedness had been
Yep.
cut.
Yep.
We'll get into all of that when we sit down and have a deeper dive into
Because
the budget.
we're still working. You're still working through exactly what is happening there. It's a large document by which to dig through.
Yes.
And so we're getting some of those more details, and that's why we'll go more in depth in a different show.
And the Governor's Public Health Commission did have different buckets showing how a lot of this money would be used.
Mm-hmm.
So for the core public health services that we want to bolster, that is where this funding is going to go. The 75 million, 150 million. So that's where we'll get down into the weeds in the future. But overall, this was a move forward.
It's a very large investment in the state's public health infrastructure.
Yes.
And a historic investment, if you will, because it has not been the case forever.
And just as a reminder, the original ask was for 100 million, 200 million.
Okay.
And we got 75 million, 150 million. So it was not to the amount that we had requested, but it still was really
still good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. Next up, behavioral mental health. That was the process on how that was going to work with those funds was in Senate Bill 1. But the funding was again in House Bill 1001. So if you remember, we coming out of the Senate, and I might want to make sure I get this right. It was 50 million for the first year, 25 million for the second year. That's not correct. I'm sorry. Guys, there are a lot of numbers.
That's what we're talking about
Math,
here. That's why.
Not my strong suit. Okay, let's start again. The community mental health funding, where the process is in Senate Bill 1, but the funding isn't in House Bill 1001. When it came out of the Senate, it had 15 million for the first year, 20 million for the second year.
Okay.
My apologies. So 35 million total.
Yep.
Okay. The final version of the budget was 50 million the first year, 50 million the second year. So 100 million total. Now, our request was over 130 million a year.
Mm-hmm.
So that is a lot less than what we had requested. If you remember, the conversation sort of surrounded how is the rest of this going to be funded? It was mainly around the 988 crisis line. And, well, they discussed putting a $1 cell phone fee, kind of like how 911 is funded. They talked about raising the cigarette tax. Neither of those things happened. So this 100 million came directly out of the general fund. So unfortunately, there is no sustainability to this. We will have to come back in 2 years to, did I just see you yawn?
I didn't.
I think you did.
I didn't.
I feel like you did.
I don't think I did.
We're boring him over here. We'll play it back. Just kidding. Okay, so there's no sustainable funding. We will have to come back in 2 years and request that same funding again.
So it's going to we'll go through this kind of whole deal again.
Yeah.
But I guess the hope is that in the next 2 years, there'll be some things to show why it's important to increase it to what it needs to be.
Yes, we will have hopefully some data, if you will, to back up how this is moving the state forward and why the additional funds that we will need to continue to maintain it are necessary. However, and one of the things that we'll get a little bit more into when we take a deeper dive is there are some federal funds that the state is pulling down for mental health services that will be used with that 100 million. So I think, from my understanding and all of our conversations with our coalition partners, is that while we may not be able to get to the full amount that we wanted, we will get pretty close with those federal funds, but those federal funds will not be available for the, in the future.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
But I can break all that down when we talk about it later.
Perfect. What else?
But overall, huge.
I agree.
Okay.
I mean, this is something that, Senate Bill 1 passed out of unanimously pretty much out of the House or out of the Senate and then out of the House. And so there's obviously folks are interested in supporting it, just couldn't necessarily get the funding to the level that everybody was cool with.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll just see what these next couple of years, what can come from it, and then in like we said, in 2 years, let's talk about it again and how we're going to fund it.
Absolutely. Okay, moving right along. We talked about how we were very supportive of House Bill 1422, which was around the dementia care specialist program.
Yes.
But there was no funding in House Bill 1001. Remember?
All
the way
through the whole process.
All through.
Right.
So 1422 passed, but there was no funding attached to it. There was also no funding resembled in House Bill 1001. Well,
until
the final conference committee report, and there was funding for the entire program for the dementia care specialists.
Love it.
And we will talk more about that and how that process will work. But for now, I just wanted you to know, where is that money? I don't have it written down. I don't know why.
I thought you had a...
I thought I did too.
Is it like a...
Anyway.
It's like a million something.
I'm sorry. Guys, this is just not going so great.
It's fine. Look, when well, she looks that up, we'll have to try to bring our friends on that worked pretty heavily on this issue to talk about it more in depth and what it looks like. We have found the number.
It was 3 million over 2 years. So 1.5 million the first year, 1.5 million the second year, and they got everything they asked for.
Love it. Great.
Sorry about that delay.
That's fantastic news. We're excited about that.
Yes, we are. We're very excited. I know that David Scalar with the Alzheimer's Association is also very excited.
And we'll have to have David on here to chat about
yes.
it.
He can actually probably break down of how this all is all going to work.
The whole structure program, what it's going to look like.
Yep.
Fantastic.
Okay.
What else?
Last two things, quick.
What do we want to hit on?
House Bill 1046, at the very end of session, it was a transportation bill that we were absolutely not necessarily one way or the other.
Yep.
There was some language that we talked about. Maybe we didn't talk about this. But in a conference committee report that had been circulated but not made public, I don't think, there was some language in it that would have prohibited dedicated lanes for transportation around the state. They tried to carve out Marion County, but the way that it was written, it actually did not carve out Marion County, but it also put a prohibition for dedicated lanes for anyone in any other community around the entire state. So it could have been very detrimental in multiple ways. However, we were able to keep that out of 1046, and the final version of 1046 does not have that language in it.
Yeah, we put out, we put it out there to our folks, our activists, our members and whatnot across the state, and folks took some actions and sent some notes and
we worked very
close phone calls and
we worked very closely with Transit Drives Indy Coalition, which we are a huge part of. So I wanted to give a shout out to the Indy Chamber as well. They were a big help, and Indigo, and just a lot of other folks that participated in these efforts.
Yep. It was, but we were able to...
And MyBor is a part of that as well.
Prevent that from getting put into that bill, and...
Yes. So
transit...
thanks to our partners for helping save transit once again.
Yeah. Dedicated lanes, live to fight another day.
Yep.
And...
last but not least, this is not...
It's kind of least.
Yeah.
Because it's not cool.
It's not. Okay. So we talked about House Bill 1050. Again, it was another transportation bill. And the Indianapolis City Council, the same day that this amendment went into 1050 by Senator Freeman, the Indianapolis City County Council had passed an ordinance out of committee that would have prevented right-hand turns on red within the downtown corridor to prevent fatalities of individuals walking, biking, just for safety around the area. It passed out of committee at the Indianapolis City County Council. We testified, as we mentioned, Addison and a lot of our volunteers were there to support that cause. And then on a state level, there was an amendment that went in the Senate that preempted any consolidated city, which in case you're curious, is only Indianapolis,
Correct.
from putting up signs or passing an ordinance that would prevent right turns on red.
Yes.
I believe the language, and I was going to pull that up too.
This happens.
It contains the following language: a consolidated city may not adopt an ordinance requiring the installation of a sign prohibiting a turn like they're doing, which is the right turn on red. So, but the point in bringing this up is we did try to get this language pulled out. Unfortunately, there was a lot of support for this. And so although our efforts across the board were heard, they were not actually
successful.
Yeah. So it stayed in. House Bill 1050 contains that language, which means the Indianapolis City County Council will not be able to continue with that.
Yes, they won't be able to move forward because they can't.
They cannot. They cannot pass anything stricter than a state law.
Cool.
Especially when the state law is telling them that they can't do exactly what they were just trying to do.
It happens. It seems to be happening more and more frequently. That those kinds of things are happening in the State House. But
yep.
So that was a lot that kind of went down the last few days of session. But
it was a lot.
You made it.
You made it.
We made it. We all made it, and that is ultimately what matters. Is that we're in this together. And I appreciate you for all your hard work. I appreciate all of you for watching and listening and joining us in this journey.
Thanks to Dan.
Dan, look, speaking of journeys, Dan has been on one for this entire season, or even seasons before that. And especially today, prior to recording, he was definitely in for a journey.
I get a little chatty before we start to record. I have to kind of like work through what we're going to talk about. And some other random things that I usually discuss.
Luckily, it's not rolling all the time. So that footage doesn't exist. But I think, Dan, thank you for your work. And look, Dan's not going anywhere. We're not going anywhere. We're going to keep on talking about these.
He may quit his...
Yeah, I might have to start doing this myself.
Dan's going to be like,
and if we recall from a few episodes ago, that went swimmingly.
Please don't leave us, Dan.
So I don't think Dan's going anywhere.
I hope not.
I'm not going anywhere. You're not going anywhere. Hopefully you don't go anywhere. Stay tuned as we work our way through the interim with some guests, some friends of the show, and we're going to try to do some things for you so that you can stay up to date about what's going on. And it doesn't have to all be about what's happening at the State House.
No, I've been trying to get an episode where we just talk about nothing.
Yeah, we're going to schedule that one. And you know what?
We would talk about something. It just would be like whatever we wanted to talk about.
I think that is what people come here for. Sometimes that's all. I'm not talking about anything half the time in the show. So that'll be easy for me.
Or just some things that AARP, like resources that, like before we talked about before the show that I wanted to share with some folks. We don't do that right now.
Yeah, we don't do that right now.
Might be another episode.
Look, we will do something where you'll get to know us a little bit more about some of the things, the tools and tricks that are out there for AARP. I like this idea.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, well, it was your idea. So I hope you like it. Okay. Anything else, Amber, before we let folks go back about what they're doing?
Nope. Just we're going to do a full rundown on all the bills from session, and we'll be back with more of that information.
It is going to be exciting stuff.
Oh.
There's more exciting stuff that's coming right now. What's going on?
I was just going to say, coming up, we'll be going to Fort Wayne for the final.
We'll be hitting the road.
Yeah.
For the Greater Fort Wayne Chamber of Commerce, or Greater Fort Wayne Inc. Is what it is, for a legislative recap. So that'll be fun. And we got go to aarp.org/in. You'll see what the events are picking up. It's getting a little bit warmer outside. There's a lot of stuff's going on. A lot of good stuff happening across the state with AARP. So stay tuned for that.
Yesterday was election day.
It was election day. We're recording this the day after election day. Hope you went out there and voted.
Oh yeah, sorry.
A lot of happenings on the local level. Mayors, town councils.
Yeah.
all sorts of fun local races that are very important. So I hope you got out there and voted. And we will get into some of that as well. Look, this was just the primary. We got stuff coming up in the fall. Lots happening. Stay tuned. Stay with us.
Because in the future, sorry, I know I keep interrupting you.
You too.
You were going to try.
I'm really trying to wrap this up.
It's not working for me. Really fast, because maybe in another episode we can talk about all of our voter engagement stuff.
A lot of voter engagement work. There's a lot of
our
stuff.
Website.
There's a lot of stuff that's going around with regards to absentee ballots that's going into effect that we're going to be talking about a lot, that especially impacts older Hoosiers. Look, it just doesn't end with session. There's so much that's going on.
I was prepping folks for what's to come.
Yes. And I appreciate you for doing that. And
You're trying to cut me off. Now go ahead and cut me off.
I think that is where I think let's leave it. Let's leave it with that.
Great.
Amber, you're all done, right?
I'm done.
Okay, even if you're not, we're moving on. Until the next episode, I'm the Legislative Director talking about legislative things. We'll see you then.